Why did you even come back? There's no place for a good-for-nothing like you here. That's right. Surely you're not just satisfied with paying rent? Even after finally returning to my family home, I was greeted with these words. I have been paying for 22 years since becoming a working adult. I mean, I was thinking of everyone's best interest. Huh? What are you talking about? The one who spoke from behind was my sister. However, my sister and I are not related by blood. She is my father's child from a previous marriage. I left home at the same time my mother remarried. Paying is a given. What else are you good for? That's exactly right. As the elder daughter, it's your duty. I can't understand why my family has to say such things to me. My mother wasn't always like this. She became poisoned by my father after remarrying. I regret that I couldn't stop it. If you hate paying, then just stop. I saw this as an opportunity. Then I'll do just that. Is that okay? You won't be able to. It's not good to make assumptions like that. Huh? I don't get what you mean. I don't want to see your ugly face, so just leave. I got the confirmation I needed, and I didn't need to hold back anymore. I had reached my limit with how much I had been treated. I vowed to disown such a family. I left my family home and stopped paying the rent. And then, a month later. What have you done? I received an unbelievable number of angry calls. I had been carrying them on my back until now. Now, they'll experience 22 years of hell. My name is Irene. I started working right after high school and it's been 4 years. I wanted to leave my house as soon as possible. It all started in the summer of my 3rd year of high school. Irene, I'm thinking of getting remarried. Remarried? Life is tough as it is. Plus, you're planning to go to college, right? True, but if it's like this, I'll work after graduation. But I've already decided. I couldn't find any more words to say after this sudden announcement. Since my father passed away when I was in elementary school, it had just been my mother and me getting by. I couldn't accept the idea of suddenly having a new family. But contrary to my wishes, things moved quickly, and she remarried a few months later. Please take care of us. And this is my daughter Vivian. Daughter? Oh, I didn't tell you. She's going to be your sister. She's only 4 years old, but I hope you two get along. Okay. Everything was so sudden, I was confused. Not only had she remarried, but I also had a new sister. But this sister turned out to be quite troublesome. I tried to get along, initiating conversations, but I got no response, or she blatantly ignored me. Maybe she's still nervous. I kept trying, but it was no use. To make matters worse, my mom doted on this new sister, and she clung to mom. I felt like I was the odd one out. Then, an incident that would change my life happened. What are you gonna do in the future, Irene? After high school, I plan to get a job and move out. What are you talking about? I was startled by his sudden outburst. Life isn't that easy. You should at least go to college. I thought to myself, he's so annoying. Apparently, my thoughts showed on my face. My dad stood up and slapped me across the face. What are you doing? You're still a child. You should just listen to your parents. Thankfully, Mom intervened, but Dad didn't stop. Hey, isn't that a bit too much? You have a problem with that? No, of course not. But Irene, you should apologize. I don't think I have anything to apologize for. What? I desperately searched for a job to leave the house. Although it was a small company, I managed to get a job as an office worker at a publishing company. Right after graduation, I left home. I thought I'd be free, but it wasn't that simple. A year here already? Time flies. Yes, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Don't mention it. We're really glad to have you. That's good to hear. I was getting the hang of my job, and every day was fulfilling. Above all, I was glad to be free from my family. Mom would occasionally contact me. At first, I replied regularly, but then I thought there was no need to involve myself anymore, so I stopped replying. That's when it happened. Somebody claiming to be your family called here earlier, Irene. Oh? Did they say what they wanted? Just that you should call back immediately. Got it, thanks. I had a bad feeling. I hadn't told my family where I worked. And the fact that they called the office directly was unbelievable. I hurriedly contacted Mom. You called my office? Oh, that was your dad. He's just worried. Her response felt somewhat cold. So, what's up? You should ask him yourself. Then Dad took the phone. It's been a while, Irene. Are you doing okay? Why did you call my office? And how did you find out? Well, I have my ways. It's easy for me to find out. And why did you call? From now on, pay us rent every month. Huh? Why should I do that? You left home on your own accord. Isn't it natural to do this? I couldn't understand. Why should I have to pay? I had no such obligation. Sorry, but that's not possible. You can't say no to us. We know your company's number. You know what I mean, right? It was a threat. If I paid quietly, they wouldn't bother me. I hated to comply with my father's demands, but I couldn't let my company suffer. I bit my lip and accepted his demand. Fine, but don't do anything to the company, okay? Sure, as long as you pay up. After hanging up, I collapsed right there. I wanted to escape my family, but how much more did they plan to make me suffer? And so, I began paying $1,800 every month. It wasn't an impossible amount, but it meant cutting back on my lifestyle to make the payments. Then, I got a call from Mom. Make sure you pay every month. Don't forget, or there'll be consequences. I get it. Don't take that tone with me. Mom had changed. She was completely under my father's thumb, nothing like the kind mother she used to be. The only pleasure I had was sitting in the park nearby, staring blankly at the sky. It was free. And made me feel liberated from my daily stress. Maybe I should head back now. Then, one day, a man approached me. Sorry to disturb you. I've seen you here often. Oh, well. I find peace here. I understand. I often come here myself when I have bad days at work. That's nice. That was how I met my husband Dan. We didn't plan to meet, but whenever we did, we had nice chats. Eventually, we started dating. As our relationship progressed, marriage became a topic, but it was hard for me with my current situation. I couldn't tell him about the rent I was paying to my parents. Years went by, and when I turned 30, he proposed. Will you marry me? I'd love to, but I know you're carrying a burden. You don't have to talk about it now. Whenever you're ready. Thank you. And so, we got married. Turns out, Dan also didn't get along well with his family. In a way, we were similar. Therefore, we didn't bother with formal family introductions. Here we are. This is our home. This place? Yeah. I was speechless. I never imagined living in such a wonderful house. What do you do for a living? I asked. Oh, did I not mention? I run a company. I had no idea. My bad. I realized I had married an incredible person. Despite my worries about whether we could make it work, Dan didn't seem to care. He fully supported what I wanted to do. Since then, life has been happy. The only concern was the monthly payments I still made. I knew I had to tell him someday, but I kept missing the right moment. Your phone's ringing. Oh, yeah. When I answered, it was an unexpected person. By this time, I was already 40 years old. It's been a while. Remember me? Vivian, right? Correct. Vivian had grown up. She was now 25. What's up? Well, just checking if you're still alive. You're pretty old now, right? If that's all, I'm hanging up. Come on, we're sisters. Let's talk a bit more. I hadn't been back to my parents' house since then. It made sense she turned out this way, being raised by parents like ours. About the monthly payments. Starting next month, make it $2,400, okay? Huh? Why should it increase? You don't have a choice. Are you living in that house too? Yeah, but that's not important. Just make sure to pay, okay? The call ended. I never thought a decades-later conversation would go like this. The only connection I had with that family was the monthly rent payments. What kind of family was that? You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Let me know if something's up, okay? Thanks. I was reaching my limit hiding my family situation from my husband. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to talk to him, but I was afraid he'd lose patience with me. I knew it was selfish, especially after keeping it a secret for so long. Time passed without finding a solution. Let's go out for your birthday. It's been a while. Okay, but where are we going? It's a surprise. On my 41st birthday, we had a date. We visited my favorite aquarium, had a great meal, and truly enjoyed the day. Can we stay a bit longer? There's somewhere I want to go. Sure, where? He led me to the park. This was where we first met. This place. Yeah. I wanted to visit here again. I understood why he brought me here. Dan never pressured me to share my troubles. I appreciated his thoughtfulness, but it also pained me. I couldn't keep being manipulated by my awful family. I need to tell you something. Okay. I'm listening. That's how I finally shared the truth with my husband, something I hadn't even told him before. So, you've been enduring all this. My husband didn't blame me but hugged me gently. I'm sorry for keeping quiet until now. There's nothing to apologize for. I was only grateful to have a husband who accepted me as I am. Then, he continued. Of course, you're planning some payback, right? He asked with a smile. I'd like to, but I don't know how. First, we need to stop those payments. But just stopping them wouldn't be fun, would it? I was a bit taken aback by his attitude, but soon felt determined to get back at them. Then, maybe we should confront them at their home? Oh, a direct confrontation. Just stopping the payments would be boring, and you like this kind of thing, right? Well, yeah. We went home and started planning our next move. I think it was the first time I saw my husband so excited. By the way, about your dad. He asked about my father's job. I had explained about my family earlier at the park. He seemed to have something in mind. I shared everything I knew about my father with him. I see. So that's how it is. Did you figure something out? Yeah, a little. I'll do what I can on my end. Okay. I'll leave it to you. Sure. So, I decided to visit my parents' house during the next holiday. Of course, my husband would come with me. Having him by my side was a huge comfort. There were about 6 months until the day we would go to my parents' house. In the meantime, my family's demands grew more outrageous. First to act was my mother. Could you help me out? I need you to increase the rent payment from next month. Huh? Vivian already told me to increase it. Why again? We have our reasons. Reasons? Like I said before, your reasons don't concern me. If you're my daughter, you should naturally help. I couldn't help but sigh. I hardly had any feelings left for my mother at this point. I might be your daughter, but I'm not his child. What are you saying? Since you remarried, I've never accepted that man as my father. How could you say that? Seems like you don't get it. Don't you realize you're just following his orders? So that's what you think. Fine, I get it. She hung up without listening to the rest of what I had to say. I once hoped she would return to the mother she used to be, but now it seemed impossible. So, I thought there was no need to hold back. Exhausted, I sat on the sofa, staring at the ceiling when my phone rang again. I guessed it was probably my father, informed by my mother. Hello? Do you even understand your place? Didn't I never have a place to begin with? Always with a comeback. You're such an infuriating daughter. I'll take that as a compliment. Is that so? It seems you won't understand until you've been hurt. Try it. But remember, if you do, the monthly payments will stop. His speechlessness was palpable even through the phone. No matter how tough he acted, it was all about the money. Without it, he would be the one struggling. It took me an unfathomable amount of time to realize this. In the end, the reason he called as soon as I started working was just a facade. Just you wait. I'll make sure you regret this. I'll be looking forward to it. Eventually, I had no idea why my father had even called. He had initiated the call but ended it as if he was fleeing. Was that your father again? Yeah, as idle as ever. Guess so. Huh? Nothing, just thinking he must be really desperate. Both the call from Mom and now this. They seem to be struggling without me knowing. Personally, I'd prefer they suffer a bit more. Well, we're going to see them soon, so you'll probably find out a lot. That might be true. The holiday season has arrived. My husband was ready to act if needed, waiting in the car. I kept my phone on call, just in case. I nervously opened the front door. There was my sister, Vivian, right in front of me. Is that really you coming back? I'm home. What brings you here? Can't I come back without a reason? Well, I guess it's okay. Vivian said that and went back to her room. I headed to the living room. As soon as my father saw me, he started on me. Why did you even come back? There's no place for a good-for-nothing like you here. That's right. Surely you're not just satisfied with paying rent? Even after finally returning to my family home, I was greeted with these words. I have been paying for 22 years since becoming a working adult. I mean, I was thinking of everyone's best interest. When with my husband, I felt confident, but now, faced with their criticism, I shrank back. It weighed heavily on my heart. Huh? What are you talking about? My sister spoke from behind me. I turned around to see her, arms crossed, glaring at me. Paying is a long-standing obligation of the elder daughter. What else are you good for? That's exactly right. As the elder daughter, it's your duty. Duty? Yeah. You practically ran away from home. I thought I saw a hint of sadness in my mother's face. So, what brings you here? This isn't your place anymore. I clenched my fists. It's about the monthly rent payments. I see. You don't want to pay anymore. Yes, that's right. I won't be controlled by you anymore. Can you really do that? Remember what I said. If you stop paying, you'll trouble your company. Until now, maybe. Fine, if you hate paying so much, stop then. I saw my chance. Then I will. You're okay with that? You won't be able to. It's not good to make assumptions like that. Huh? I don't get what you mean. I don't want to see your ugly face, so just leave. I had his word, and there was no need for restraint anymore. I had reached my limit with what I could endure. I vowed to cut ties with such a family. As I was about to leave the house, my father stopped me. Do you understand the consequences? Your threats won't change my mind. A failure like you should just do as your parents say. That'll be your life from now on. I refused to acknowledge such a man as my father. Nothing he said could change my resolve. You and people like you are the ones I refuse to deal with. Then, in a fit of rage, he lunged at me. Hey! What are you doing? You need to be taught a lesson again. It hurts. He was still strong. Despite his age. I feared he might hit me like he used to. That's when it happened. The front door burst open. Who's there? Nice to meet you. I'm Irene's husband. What? You're married? Yes, I've been married for quite some time. How dare you? I'm not a child anymore. I can make my own decisions about marriage. Then, hearing the commotion, my mother and sister, Vivian, came in. What's going on? Who is this man? He's my husband. What? I didn't feel the need to introduce him to you. That's all there is to it. Can we leave now? I don't want to be here a second longer. Wait a minute. I won't wait. My husband stepped in to help. If this continues, we'll have to call the police. What? Mind your own business, outsider. It seems talking won't work. Let's go. Right. So, my husband and I left my parents' house. I'll never forget their expressions at that moment. A mix of surprise and anger. Good timing, huh? Yeah. Who knows what would have happened otherwise? But what matters is what happens next. Yes. It's time for those three to experience hell. As we drove home, we talked about stopping the rent payments. And a month later, what have you done? An unbelievable number of angry calls came. I had always supported them until now. I just did what you told me to do. What? But it's no problem, right? You and Dad both work. Then Vivian, lacking her earlier bravado, spoke softly. Dad got fired. Fired? I don't know much, but someone from headquarters came, and... That's when I remembered a conversation with my husband. He had shown interest in my father's company and said he'd handle it. He must have done something. But you're there, right? I don't work. Could you repeat that? I'm not working. You were so bold despite not working? My sister fell silent. You really are foolish, all of you. Well, you brought this upon yourselves. Now, you'll have to figure it out as a family. We can't even live like this. Is that my problem? You're older than me, it's your responsibility. I'm done with this conversation. I hung up immediately. I hadn't felt so refreshed in a long time. Turning my back on such a family was the right decision. Sometimes I regret not acting sooner, but I guess it was fate that it turned out this way. Later, I also got a call from my father. I never thought you'd actually stop the payments. Help us out. What? Now you're asking for help? I'm not going to. You handle it yourself. Wait. No, I'm hanging up. Hey! The conversation isn't over. It is for me. After that, I ignored numerous calls from my family. Are you okay? Absolutely fine. Good to hear. About Dad getting fired. That was... You figured it out, huh? Yes, you're right. Turns out his company was a subcontractor for mine. I knew it. Apparently, he was causing a lot of issues at work, like harassment. So, I took care of it. And he was fired. My husband had helped make it easier for me to take my revenge. He really is a kind and supportive man. From now on, just think about yourself. Yes. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much. I couldn't be more grateful to my husband. I thought we could finally lead a peaceful life. But that hideous family didn't give up until the very end. Somehow they found out where we lived and showed up at our house. Why are you here? How did you find out? We asked someone we know. So, you investigated my workplace too? Please forgive us. Look, Vivian too is begging. Please. They were begging with their heads bowed. Of course, I couldn't forgive them. Stop it, it's embarrassing. Just go back. We can't live like this. You brought this on yourselves. It's your fault for causing trouble at work. How did you know? Your company was a subcontractor for my husband's. What a coincidence. Karma, right? That's ridiculous. My father collapsed in despair. Now you understand. It's pointless to come here. Should I call the police? Then, my mother and Vivian, looking dejected, took my father and left. Later, I heard from my husband about their situation. Predictably, they couldn't afford rent and moved into a small, run-down apartment. Their family relationship was the worst, always fighting. Well, that's a natural consequence. I don't care what happens to them in the future. I only wish they live regretting for the rest of their lives. How did you feel about what you heard? Quite satisfying. We're living fulfilling days. From now on, I'll focus on my life with my husband.